All right, here we go. Another Sunday summary. I'm your host, Kyle, and with me I got Steve and Kev. I appreciate you guys coming on. And before we get started, I just want everyone, if you see the icon in your lower right-hand corner, click that button, allow you to subscribe to the channel. If you're still struggling with that, go down below. There's a red subscribe button you can also click. And if you're still struggling at that point, in the description, I'll give you a link to subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, let's get going. How y'all both doing? We'll start with Steve.
I am hanging in there, quarantining, continuing to practice social distancing and all that stuff. Missing Liverpool for sure. Excited to be back on here with you and Kev as well.
Yeah, Kev, what's good, man?
Yo, man, chilling. Obviously, missing the guys, missing the squad, missing you guys too. You know, we're keeping the group chat alive. It's been helping. But yeah, man, it's some weird times, but hopefully things get back to normal pretty soon and we can start getting back to our normal routine.
Yeah, definitely weird times, man. And I don't think the world's going to be the same after this. I mean, everything's going to be completely different protocols and all that stuff. But good news this week. So the Premier League met and they're given the go-ahead, right? We can start the season, or they can start the process of implementing protocol to bring the season back. So basically, we're just going to freestyle it, guys. I mean, what are the positives aside from, Liverpool lifting the trophy with bringing the league back? Like, do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's too risky at this point? Do you think we should wait? I mean, what? Just really, just give me your thoughts, and we'll go with Steve first.
Yeah, selfishly, I think it's a great thing because, like I said, I just want to watch. I don't care who I'm watching.
Yeah.
Obviously, the main goal for us is to see Liverpool hoist the trophy. But I think if they're able to restart the season in a safe manner, so not everyone's going to be happy with the decision, whichever way it goes. But I think the positives are that, the fans will have something to watch again. The players can get back to work doing what they devote their lives to do, and things of that nature. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, man. Obviously, definitely want them to come back so I could see Henderson win the league and lift the trophy. But, it's definitely a double-edged sword. A lot of the other leagues have either voided or canceled their leagues. And as a result, like PSG, for example, with League they just won the trophy. And then however they segmented out, who's at the bottom and who's coming up, they have to just deal with that with the teams who are in the positions that they're in. So, if that was a decision that the Premier League was going to take, then, I'm all for it. Get back to it, get back to normal next season. The only issue is, the Premier League, if they're the first ones to do it, then they're going to be the ones who are essentially going to be the scapegoat if things go wrong, right? So even if they have a closed stadium and no audience can come in, who's to say the players won't get sick? Who's to say, the virus won't spread again? So I think with the precautions that the UK have pretty much laid out, the terms that they laid out to all the teams and, all the protocols that they would have to follow to get games up and running, is definitely a good sign, but whether they're actually going to pull the trigger or not is still something that, we're just going to have to wait and see. Personally, soccer during the summer, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point because, you can lay all this stuff out, but at the end of the day, there's still that risk that they could get infected, right? Because you have to make sure that everyone who's being quarantined, whether it's the players or the trainers or the coaches, you know what I mean? You got to make sure that they're all following those guidelines. And they also have to make sure that before they start, right, that they didn't come in contact with someone who could have been infected. It's just, for me, I want to watch sports again. Don't get me wrong. I want to watch Liverpool lift the title. I think Jordan Henderson deserves it more than anyone. The guy's passion he has for this club is remarkable, and he deserves PFA Player of the Year, all that stuff, right? But
Agreed.
There is risk that comes with this. So like you said, Kev, the steps they're taking is an awesome sign. I just think the risk reward is up there. Like if the Premier League does this and then even just one person gets infected, there's going to be hell to pay. I mean, there's going to be a lot of blame. There's going to be lawsuits. I mean, and if one person gets infected and they're having games 2-3 times a week, who's to say it hasn't spread to literally every other team and then every other staff member? And then you have a whole nother pandemic, basically. You know what I mean?
Think about it too. Even before the season kind of concluded, more or less, with the game with Atletico Madrid, this thing was still going around, and we were still allowed to play that. So there was a lot of people in the stadium. Obviously, it was a packed stadium, people working. So that could have been a lot worse of a situation than it ended up turning into. But, because you have so much personnel and so many players on the field at one time, you obviously elevate the risk of what's going to happen or potentially happen. Whereas, like, let's say with an NBA game, you have 10 people on the court at once, maybe a handful of people in the coaching staff, and then anybody who just, has to run the stadium to open it up, essentially. So it's a little easier in that sense. And even they're still hesitant in, when they're going to bring things back on their end. So I don't know, man. It's definitely going to be difficult, but you think about it, the Premier League and just the UK in general, like, this is their moneymaker, right? All those TV rights and the money that comes from that, like, that's probably a real big reason as to why, like, they really want to get this thing up and running, because it's such a huge source of income for them. Whereas, in Netherlands, in the Dutch league, they have money, so they don't really care to cancel their league and just call it a day. And I'd assume it's the same thing with France. They definitely make a lot of money off of PSG and whatnot, but not enough to, like, restart. Whereas in the UK, especially with them not being in the EU anymore, they're going to need all the money they can, to kind of move forward. But I don't know, man. It's definitely going to be a weird situation. And I want it to come back, but I don't know. The more and more it goes on, the less and less I'm optimistic. So it'll just be a big surprise to me if it does come back and you're able to watch again.
Yeah, Steve, what about you? Are you optimistic? I mean, even though, they say they're going to try to restart it, the more and more, because I agree, I think the more they push to restart it, the less I think it's actually going to happen, even though it's kind of counterintuitive. But what do you think, Steve?
What's the timeline for when they're foreseeing the
So,
reinstatement of the league?
so it was June 7th was the start date, and they were going to start training in, I don't know, like mid-May or something like that. And then they pushed it back to June 13th. So as the latest I know, it could be a little adjusted since then, but June 13th is the start date, and that would put an end to the season. The last date I saw was either July 27th, but that was for the June 7th start date. So it could be either late July, early August.
Yeah, I think it's coming back.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind. Yep.
Yeah. So with it coming back, I mean, I just don't understand. Like, do you guys like understand what needs to be in place for them to maintain like a sterile environment during all this? Like, players to play games, players to train, all the staff it's unbelievable. The manpower and the training that goes involved. They're going to have a complete like seminar for all the players before they come back. Like, this is what you need to do. This is what you can't do. It's going to take a lot of manpower.
Well, Kai, I mean, I think you bring up a good point, right? Because the players have to be bought into it.
Yeah.
Like, they can't just say, "Oh, well, we're gonna restart, and you guys got to show up and play." Like, no. Like, if I get sick, my family gets sick. So I think what they were discussing was that they were gonna have, two separate stadiums essentially, and I think it was like Wembley, and I don't know if it was West Ham Stadium, but one of the other bigger stadiums in London. And then essentially players would stay in hotels. They'd quarantine the hotel, so the away team would come in, leave, they'd quarantine the building, clean it, and then let the next team come in. So I don't know how the hell that's going to work, because who do they decide is going to be the home team in that situation?
Yeah.
That's one. Number two, I think what they were planning to do as well with the stadiums is they have a game, everybody leaves, they clean it out, and tournament style, like the next team kind of comes in, almost like a round robin. So that's a very interesting thing if that's the case. But I don't know, man. It just seems like a lot of effort, extra effort, and probably extra money too out of their pockets to kind of get this thing up and running. But who knows? Maybe they've assessed that they'll make that money back in TV revenue streams. So I don't know, but I don't know. It seems really dicey, but who knows?
Yeah, dicey is a good word. Steve, you have any input on that?
I think I can echo what Kev just said, but I think they also have to make sure that they test everybody on a regular basis. So they're going to have a lot of tests around for all the players. And then basically, these players are going to have to quarantine themselves. These players' families are going to have to quarantine themselves. All the staff's families are going to have to quarantine themselves. It's just going to be like another massive quarantine just to get the season done. Like, is it worth it? Probably not. But like I said, selfishly, like, I'm all for it. Just
it's
like,
pretty savage way to put it, but I mean, Kev brought up the money.
Do it. Yeah.
They're probably thinking that too, because they want their money, man. Everyone wants their cut of the pie.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like, think about it too. Like, how do you have that conversation with the media companies who have paid these clubs already, or
right,
vice versa, or however the fuck it works, it's like, all right, well, we have your money, so we're not gonna like just give it back. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. So it'll be really interesting to see what the dynamic is going to be like if they decide to move forward, and then ultimately kind of what that conversation looks like between the media companies and then the teams and the league as a whole. So I know you just gotta stay tuned, but it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and I'm just hanging on to every piece of news I get, man. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for them to
I don't
figure it
think
out.
I've watched more Liverpool highlights and reruns in my entire fucking life, yo. Every time
Bro,
there's a clip on YouTube, I'm like, fuck it, I'll watch these 10 minutes, like whatever.
that's right. That's right. And if you look at the view count, man, ever since like Bleacher Report is releasing entire games, the view count for all these highlights and games have like quadrupled. Like everyone's just watching. I watch highlights every night, pretty much.
Dude,
Just
it's
going back through the
crazy. It's like,
season.
it's nothing new, but it's just something to hold on to. It's like, oh, I know Mane's about to make this pass and then score the goal, but fuck it, I'm gonna be surprised anyway. Oh, it's like, it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, I completely agree. All right, so more exciting stuff. We got some transfer rumors that we get, right? Who knows if it's true or not, because teams are probably doing all their business via Zoom. No one's meeting and signing contracts. All I'm saying is, let's get Timo Werner to docu-sign something. I just need this man to just commit to the club. So, real quick, before I get into Timo Werner, because he's obviously the big dog in all this. So, Michael Edwards and Genie, of course, Genie has been kind of trying to negotiate terms for a new contract for a while now, at least a couple months. And Michael Edwards and Genie are kind of struggling on terms. I I think they're just trying to find something that fits because Genie's 28, 29. So the deal he signed it's probably going to be a 3, 4, 5 year deal. So they want something that's going to account for his decline once he gets into his 30s, but also something that protects his value and satisfies him so he's happy at the club. So do you think – I think this is going to work out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Klopp thinks he's the perfect midfielder. He's such a crucial part to any sort of formation we play. You can plug him in. He can play in multiple different roles. Obviously, he plays more forward for his country, and I think he's so valuable. He's so durable that they'll make sure they get the deal done. I'm not worried that it's not going to go through or anything. I also, like you said, we're not entirely sure like what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
But I would be extremely surprised if we weren't able to lock him down for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Kev?
Yeah, I mean, Genie's definitely a very important role, plays a very important role in our squad, right? So we definitely want to lock him down for a long-term contract. And I'd imagine that he knows that as well, right? Because he's one of the first names on the team sheet week in and week out. So I wonder if it's more about the length of the contract over like how much he's actually going to get paid, right? Because like you said, like he's getting up there in age, 28, 29. So they probably want to lock him down, like Steve said, for a long-term contract. But he's like, like if that's the case, I don't want to be 31 sitting on the bench, not playing, right? So he's probably thinking like, let me go potentially to another team and maybe sign for a 1-2 year contract with Liverpool, still have my value and, sunset off into whether it's MLS or, the Serie A or whatever other leagues that he wants to go to, right? So I don't know. I think a deal would definitely get done because he is one of the starting 11. He is one of the cogs in the machine that is our midfield that helps, our front three produce the magic that they do. So I'm pretty optimistic about it. But then again, it's like, who do we bring in during the summer, if anyone, to kind of fill his role, right? Because like you said, like James Milner is going to be leaving most likely very soon. Adam Lallana's on his way out. And so they're obviously going to be bringing in new players. So there's going to be that competition in our midfield to see who's actually going to be starting week in, week out. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting situation to see. I think a deal is going to get done before the season, but I mean, there's really no rush right now, right? So
Yeah.
they can have as long of a time period to have these conversations as possible, which I think ultimately will prove to be a good thing in the long run, because then, a contract will actually be hashed out pretty soon.
Yeah, I think Genie and Henderson are very interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't decide what our best midfield is. With nobody's injured, I would argue Fabinho, Keita, Henderson. But then, like I said, you can interchange Henderson and Wijnaldum. You know what I mean? But I just can't leave Henderson out without feeling bad. So I don't know. It's going to be good. But let me throw something at you guys. Let me throw something at you guys. With Jimmy Milner probably leaving in the next year or two, do you see Wijnaldum becoming that utility player in the future if he signs that long-term deal? Because I think he could do it. I think you could put Genie anywhere. He's played center back for us and done excellent before. All
Yeah,
right,
I don't
Steve, all
know.
right, what's Steve shaking his head for? Hold on, Steve.
Yeah.
No.
Why?
Wijnaldum cannot play wing back, left back, right back. No.
Why?
He can only play in the middle of the field.
You don't think Klopp could motivate him to play that?
No, I think Hendo would do that. We've seen Hendo play right back, center back. Hendo would become that utility guy.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Could you guys see Genie Wijnaldum playing left back?
I could.
I
never uses his left foot ever.
That's so true. And honestly, when you think about the way we play, right, like our fullbacks are constantly running up the field and, delivering balls into the box. I don't see that really being a skill set of Genie. So even if he's on the right-hand side or playing center back, he's more of a possession guy and then ultimately breaks the line to make that, that killer pass. So his position is so locked down because of what he actually brings to that certain position, right? So at a right back, he's not going to be really utilizing his skills the same way he would in the midfield. Same thing in center back. So I think in that case, I don't see that happening, but maybe as like a backup to potentially one of the front three, if we only bring in Werner and no one else to back up Mane and Salah. And, obviously we have a lot of the younger kids coming through the ranks. So I don't know, man. It'll be interesting, but I don't really see him being that much of a utility player like that. I think he's really, really meant for the midfield.
All right, that's good points. You guys bring up a good point. He really doesn't use his left foot that much.
I can't even picture him whipping in a cross with his right. I'm serious.
Yeah, seriously.
Like
okay,
like
right,
a
that's fair
hard
enough.
curled cross. I can't picture it.
Yeah, he's very
He's very
stingy.
rigid.
What's the word? He's stiff on the ball.
Yes, he's very stiff. Like, he even looks slow. I know he's not slow, but when I watch him run, I'm like, yo, he's slow.
I'll tell you, he never loses the ball though, bro. Never.
He's bulletproof.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, his intelligence in the midfield is really one of his key strengths too, because obviously he's really good at shielding the ball, but he makes those key passes that end up leading to a goal a lot more times than not. The only thing that sucks is stats wise, he doesn't have a lot of assists, right? So he might make the pass for that person to make the assist, but it's never really him being that guy. And you really can't quantify that just looking at numbers. You'd have to actually watch him play. And that's why he's so important and why Klopp loves him so much, because he just keeps the ball moving. So I don't know. I mean, I definitely can't see him at right back or center back, but shit, Klopp has surprised us in the past. So maybe he'd be able to, he'd be the only person, the only coach in the world to possibly transition him to one of those roles.
And that's my only point, really, is that Klopp turned James Milner, who was pretty much a center mid. He played center attacking mid, and he made him into a star left back for a whole season, right? I mean, if he could do that, James Milner's a professional, Wijnaldum's a professional, but you're right. I think Henderson probably, but Henderson doesn't use his left foot either, bro. Like, I don't know.
No, but you know what? Henderson has those killer balls, though. So it's like, even if he doesn't use his left foot, he finds a way to get the ball exactly to where it needs to be, no matter how he does it. And I think what's the difference between like Genie and Henderson is Henderson's energy, because he's the captain, because he's been there. He's one of the longest running players on the team currently. He wants to win the league more than anyone else. He wants to win the accolades and the honors more than anyone else on the field. And I think that's what really makes the difference, right? Whereas Genie could probably just say, like, all right, like, I've had my 1 or 2 years, like, I could walk away. Like, I don't really see Henderson, like, walking away from Liverpool anytime soon. Like, I can't even really see him playing for another team that's really going to be able to, like, utilize his skill set, right? And what he brings to our team is just, it's unmatched. And that's ultimately why he's a captain.
Yeah, completely agree. I think Henderson, I think he'll be here for his whole career, just because when did he come in? 2011, maybe 2012, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's done nothing but just climb the ladder, man. He started out as like a very good role player, squad player, and then he filled in for Gerrard, and now look at him. Captain, PFA Player of the Year candidate, unbelievable. Now, let's get into Timo Werner, okay? Because, Klopp, with Timo Werner, if he ends up signing, I think Klopp is going to eventually move to that 4-2-3-1 system. We've seen him do it before when we had Solanke starting in the lineup a few times. He'd put Solanke up on that top. he'd have Firmino in behind, and then those two midfielders. It's like Keita pushing up or something like that. So with Timo Werner coming in, or potentially coming in, the chances have increased with the recent report coming out that he said he's not going to Bayern or any other German club for that matter. And I think that's great news for the Premier League, because I think he wants to come to the Premier League, and I think he's not fit for any other league, the Italian league, Spanish, French. So I think he's going to end up in the Premier League, and I think ultimately he's going to end up with Liverpool. What are you guys' takes on that? We'll start with Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's coming. I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry, just like Wijnaldum's contract. Also, guys, I think Milner's going to stick around a lot longer than you think. We talked about that in the past, Kyle. We don't have to dive into that, but yeah, Millie will be around for a while. I think Timo's coming. I actually saw a rumor that we had actually lost all our money and like now we're not getting him, which is just insane. But you hear all sorts of crap from these, and it's always coming from like France or something, like not Germany, not England, like France. Yeah. Okay, let me listen to this guy over here in France.
Working out of his basement and shit.
Seriously.
No, yeah, I mean, I think, well, two things. James Milner will be with Liverpool probably for the remainder of his career and probably just transition into like an assistant coach or something and probably go on to do his own thing. 1. 2, I think Timo Werner's definitely coming 100%. It's just a matter of when negotiations can open up and then him sign the contract and do the physical and all that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest hurdles is actually getting him into the building, do the physical and all that. They're trying to probably assess when they could possibly do that to get the contract signed. I think if he does come, he'd be an amazing player for us. I think that, 4-2-3-1 would be a lethal combination, because now what happens is we can have Jordan and Gini in that holding position, and we can also have Fabinho in that holding position. So we have a lot more pieces to play around with those two, kind of a makeshift like center back midfield option. And then the 3 in the middle are interchangeable because we have Keita, we have Ox. You could even put Trent up there if we were to, put Nico Williams in the back, get him some experience, put Trent in the midfield and start that transition a little bit. So, and then in that case, you can make an argument for keeping Origi because he's more of a front man anyway. So he doesn't have to do a lot if he's up there, and he can serve as a backup to Werner. So we really wouldn't have to sell him, and then we can retain much of our squad. So I think it'll give, obviously our squad a lot more depth and just a lot more options when playing different teams, those who are sitting back, those who are kind of more free-flowing that we can just tear apart. I think it'll give Klopp a lot of pieces to play around with. And I actually wonder like who else that we're thinking about bringing in as well, right? Yeah. Because we do have such a young squad coming up, and I'm wondering if we're just going to save money, buy Timo, maybe 1 or 2 more players, back up Andy Robertson, and then just call it a day.
Yeah, and whoever we buy. No, go ahead, Steve. What?
Do you remember who we bought last summer?
You talking to Kev?
Either of you.
Who did we bring in last summer?
Yeah, I know Minamino was January. Who did we bring in last summer? No, we didn't buy anyone.
Yeah, we didn't. No we bought Sepp Vender Black, whatever his name is.
Venden Black.
Venden Black. And then we bought in Harvey Elliott from Fulham. I think those were the only 2 signings.
Right.
Talk about a good buy for the future, bro. Harvey Elliott.
Yo, dude, he's gonna. Honestly, like, I don't know if you guys watched the interview with him and Pep Linders, but he's got a good head on his shoulders, and I think Klopp is more excited than any of us. Obviously, he sees him day in and day out, and I'm 100% positive what he sees on the field. He's like, I can't fucking wait for this kid to be like 18 and just shitting on dudes, like legitimately. He's holding his own with seasoned Premier League players. The Everton game that we played in the the FA Cup or the League Cup or whatever it was, that proved everything I needed to see. I mean, my man was tearing up the right side of the field almost effortlessly. Oh my God, effortless. I can't get this word out. Effortlessly. So it was wild, man. And so I think he's actually going to be a really, really good player for us. And I can't wait till he gets older. Once he's like 23, 24, it's going to be a wrap.
Forget about it. The kid is 17 right now, maybe just about to turn 18 in quality. Even when we got crapped on by Aston Villa, he was the best player on that field, man. He made at least, he created 5 chances, I think, that game. I mean, the rest, him, Curtis Jones, Nico Williams, you brought up. I'm a big fan of Yasar Larouchi coming in at left back. But Nico Williams, I rewatched the Arsenal game. I think the Arsenal, I don't know if it was the EFL Cup game, when Curtis Jones had the whip. I don't know, was that the Everton or was that Arsenal? When Curtis Jones had that screamer.
That was
from outside
Oh,
the box.
yeah, that was the Everton game.
Okay. So it was that game. Nico Williams is good, man. He's quality. But
Dude,
yeah.
yeah.
I think you hit it on the head with saying Klopp likes to play with systems and he likes to have options. And when we have those two holding midfielders, I don't know how it's going to change the system because right now with the 4-3-3, what he does is the right and left midfielders, they kind of drop out wide when we're defending to help out the right backs and the left backs. And then Fabinho, of course, or whoever's playing that defensive midfield role kind of just stays right in front of Van Dijk and Lovren or Matip, whoever. So with the two at the back, whoever's playing in that 10 role is going to have to drop back and do some defensive work. Unless, of course, he's just got two guys there, a Fabinho and a Henderson, who don't push forward, right? And then you have four guys up top that push forward, and that's your attacking. So I think it'll take a lot of the load off Firmino, especially because he does so much work in that midfield. He's pretty much a box-to-box striker, if that's even a thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I think Timo Werner coming in is exactly what we need because Origi can play up top, but he can't fit in for Firmino. You know what I mean? If Firmino's out, Origi goes to the wing and Mane comes up into the false nine role. So Klopp doesn't even trust him to put him there when Firmino's out. But now moving into defense, we've been linked with Koulibaly again. So we've been linked with him for like a year now, or at least, rumors. But with what's going on with Napoli, we've been linked with Dries Mertens too. So my feeling is there's definitely some talks going on there with Napoli. Who knows what we're getting? But would you guys do a swap deal? Because I've read swap and out and out buy. Would you do a swap deal, Joel Matip for Koulibaly? Steve, go first.
Is that even a question?
I'm asking it.
Koulibaly is 2 times as good as Joel Matip.
But don't you love Joel Matip?
I love Big Joel. I really do. But I'm really tired of him being hurt, number one. I'm tired of how slow he is as well. We're spoiled with Van Dijk and Gomez. They can track back on anything. I think Koulibaly's got some of that pace as well, and he is just a beast. The only person I've ever seen do him dirty is Mo Salah.
I was just going to say that, yep.
And we can expect that.
I would miss Big Joel. I really would, but, Koulibaly is, a top 3 center back on the globe.
Oh my gosh, man. I would feel so bad for Joel, bro. I love that man.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not buying the rumors just yet until I see concrete evidence that we're in for him for 2 reasons. One, if we do want to bring in Werner, it is going to cost us a little bit of money, whether it's, 50 million and up. And then I know Koulibaly has to be somewhere in a range of 80 plus. So do Liverpool spend that much money on another defender, knowing that we have Gomez and Van Dijk, with Gomez being, the solidified partner to Van Dijk? So if you bring in Koulibaly, what does that say to Gomez, right? It's we trust you and we think you're going to do well, but this guy's world-class. Now we have 2 world-class, center back. So I don't know how that dynamic would really play out. So I don't know. I mean, I think Joel Matip will probably get sold at some point, in the near future anyway, but who we bring in to back, to fill that position remains to be seen. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying it just yet.
All right, here's my thought. I want to add something to this.
All right, go for it.
So if you bring in Koulibaly, obviously he's going to start over Gomez in center back just because he's older, he's more seasoned, he's played in massive games.
Yep.
Okay, you could then put Joe Gomez at right back, hone his skills there, and then that's when Trent starts to make the transition to the midfield. Just a thought.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
I don't love Joe Gomez at right back.
Yeah.
I don't love anybody at right back. I love Trent Alexander-Arnold at right wing. When he's back there defending, I'm like, all right, whatever. But he's a winger.
Yeah. Yeah, when Trent
100%.
pushes forward, he creates problems for every
It's
defense.
unbelievable.
Yo, but like imagine a Trent who's also a good defender and still does what he does. Like that's almost unreal. So like you almost can't expect him to be a jack of all trades and still be world class. Like what he does in that
But he
position,
is. He already is.
well, that's what I'm saying. But he lacks defensive ability a little bit, and so that's what you can kind of harp on him for. But he's still a good defender in my eyes. And I mean, I don't know as much about soccer and the dynamics all of it. Like a lot of people who are seasoned do. But when I see him defend, I'm like, oh, all right, like shielding the guy. He's maintaining a nice distance from him, and then he goes in and makes the attack when he needs to. But I could definitely see him in the midfield and maybe in the front three possibly. So that's definitely a situation I can definitely see. But yeah, I don't know, man. Bringing in Koulibaly seems like a slap in Gomez's face, and I don't think he wants to play right back either. He's got the pace, but he doesn't have that final ball, that final delivery. So I don't know if Klopp would really want to do that unless I don't know, unless Michael Edwards is like, no, we're getting this motherfucker. You got to figure it out.
So, snowballing off that though, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think Gomez wants to play right back because, man, Brendan Rodgers brought him in and he was playing left back in preseason or something, and then he moved over to right back. But he's so much more useful and better, in my opinion, at center back. And we've seen him at right back, but he doesn't have Trent's ability to go forward and whip the ball into the box. He just doesn't. He doesn't
Exactly.
have the ability.
And I haven't really seen too many of Koulibaly's games, so I don't really know how fast he is. But I'd imagine Gomez is faster, right? So I think that's kind of what separates Gomez from us bringing in any other center back because of his recovery speed. Like you can't train speed. You either got it or you don't. And the fact that he is one of our fastest, if not our fastest defender, all right, no, that's not true at all. He's like third, but he's fast as hell. So if somebody goes by Van Dijk, let's say, or Robert, what's his name, Trent, he knows he has that cover. Where I don't know, Koulibaly seems more of like a strength defender. Like you're not getting by him, but if you like run by him like Salah did, he's probably going to get smoked. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like the positions that our team have right now, because they're all kind of special positions in a sense to what they do and what Klopp wants them to do, I don't really see Koulibaly necessarily fitting into our system, even though he is such a great defender.
See, that's what I'm saying. I just don't
Mhm.
because Koulibaly is a Van Dijk. He plays on that left center back side, and he's kind of the leader. I don't see Klopp bringing in two of those, and I don't see Koulibaly taking a back seat to Van Dijk. I just don't see it. I think,
No,
man,
no way.
I could
No
see us
way.
selling Matip. I could see that happening. But Gomez, you're right. That's a slap in the face to Gomez, man, because Gomez is getting at that age. I think he's like 22 now, 23 maybe.
Yeah.
He's got to be getting some playing time, and he can't be sitting behind Koulibaly because Koulibaly's you're never gonna see a Gomez swap for Koulibaly unless it's like an FA Cup or something.
Straight up. And like,
Well,
think
if
about
we-
it too. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say, if we bring in Koulibaly and it's Koulibaly and Van Dijk, we will literally let up 0 goals. Like no
Koulibaly, Van
attacker would
Dijk, and
even want.
Allison.
No
Oh my
attacker would even want to attack.
No,
They would just be like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good."
Just
You're gonna
stand
get
like
hurt
the top
if
of
you
the
go at
box,
them.
like
Oh,
You're
at the
gonna
top of
get
the box,
hurt.
like what do I do here? What do
Yeah.
I do?
Cool.
yeah, and you forget Allison's there too. There's nothing's gonna happen. No
Oh,
chance.
and then you got Robertson breathing down your neck. You know what I mean? It's
Straight
just
up,
scary.
straight
It's
up.
petrifying.
With the
Absolutely
hunchback, like,
petrifying.
Yo,
Yeah.
he's straight up hunchback, man. God.
but
And
only
then-
when he runs, dude. It's hilarious.
Fabinho's in your face. Henderson's just breathing down your neck. I would
Yeah,
be
we got some
petrified to
savages.
play against that defense.
People are already petrified to play against us, man.
I know.
Even without him.
What were you gonna say, Kev?
No, I was just gonna say, like, and like, you think about a situation. So Matip leaves, Lovren leaves, right? So we'll probably get like squad players to really fill those
That's
two
right,
roles. who
Lovren.
can-
That's a good point. I forgot.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So like we're probably gonna get somebody who's decent enough to fill in for Gomez and still be able to do the work. Who's still young enough where it's like, or maybe even like around the same age or like twilight of his career, where it's like you're not gonna start, but you're probably most likely gonna get like cup games, FA Cup games. So you're still gonna get that playing time. It's very similar to like Adrian behind Allison. So I can see a situation like that happening. But bringing in like another world-class center back, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's first of all the money that Liverpool would have to spend to get one, and because they're so scarce these days. as far as like a really young, solid center back. I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I forgot about Lovren too, because most likely Lovren is going to leave. So even say you have Lovren, Matip, and Gomez, or I mean Matip and Gomez and Van Dijk. Excuse me. You have three center backs. They obviously need to bring in someone else, and I just don't know if that someone else is going to be Koulibaly. I just don't see it happening. And like you said, it's going to be 80 plus. I mean, what's his face? Maguire was 85. And Maguire's trash. So Koulibaly,
Trash, bro.
like, it's got to
Trash.
be 120 or something. Like, imagine if Van Dyke
Yeah.
was on the market right now. You're easily paying.
Oh,
I wouldn't. I think it's not too far to say 150. I'm serious.
150.
yeah.
Right now in this
Yeah,
market.
honestly.
Yeah,
Because and beyond like his actual talent, but what he actually did for our team. Like, it's very rare that you bring in a player and he changes the entire dynamic of one, the confidence that the players have in him to like, oh, right, with the ball rolled by, like I know my man Van Dijk got it. That and just the sheer just leadership and power that he brings to the game. Yo, you can't just bring anyone in and just have our bro. Once he came in, we really started not letting in any fucking goals and winning just about every game we played for an entire calendar year. An entire calendar year.
Yep.
Like what? Cristiano
Tell
went to
me.
fucking Real Madrid and they didn't do that.
Yeah, tell me this right now. When Lovren and Matip were the center backs, every single cross into that box, I thought it was going in. No one's getting that header. Lovren isn't getting that header. Lovren's not clearing the ball, or he's going to just miss it and let someone score.
Lovren's sitting there sipping tea like, we have a game?
Yeah.
Oh, damn,
No, seriously.
my bad.
But then Van Dijk comes in, literally the entire team pushes forward, and Van Dijk just stays back. He's like, I got it. That is unbelievable. You're right. He completely changed everything. Completely changed everything. Yeah. And then I just want to touch on one more point, and we'll wrap it up. Trent into midfield. So Trent, he was a midfielder for the U23s, and then, of course, you guys know he wanted to get into the first team. So he said, how can I do that? And there was a void at that's the right word, a void at right back. And he pretty much adjusted his game to fit that position. So do I see him now that he has a starting spot and he's one of the best right backs in the world, just changing and going to midfield, considering the talent we have there now? I just don't see it. Could he do it? Sure. I mean, he's awesome on the ball. He can shoot, he can pass, he can cross, everything. I just don't see it happening. You know, I think he'll end up just staying at right back.
I agree, honestly.
Yeah, I can see a situation too where, and obviously I don't know the kid, I don't know what he's thinking, but he probably feels like, yo, honestly, I can like really just make this position like my own and solidify my legacy this way, right? Because you can make an argument where if he gets moved to the midfield, he's going to constantly be compared to Gerrard. He's a Liverpool kid, he's playing in the midfield, and there's already that hype. Whereas at right back, you know, that's like not really a position that Liverpool has been really known for in the past. I know there's like a couple of players from, you know, like the 90s and 80s. I just can't remember their names, but I feel like just from like the way he talks about the position and that interview that he had, you know, discussing that, you know, he really wants to leave his legacy and kind of revolutionize that right back position. He still has a number 66. So he still has that like chip on his shoulder, like, no, like I still need to earn my spot. And I think because of that, he probably feels like, no, like I'm going to be the best right back and I'm just going to do exactly what I'm doing. I mean, he's essentially a midfielder anyway. He's playing so high up the field regardless. So he probably doesn't really feel like he needs to actually be in the midfield to make an impact, right? So because of the system that Klopp plays, Klopp's like, yo, yeah, free reign. Just go, just run up, cross the ball in, and you're good to go. Whereas in the midfield, I feel like he'll be targeted a little more because he's going to be like right in the action. Whereas at right back, you kind of have all that space to work with anyway. So he can run up the field and people kind of forget about him. And by the time they see him, they can't catch up and the ball's already in the box. So it'll be interesting to see if he does go to midfield, how he adjusts his game even further, in which case he'll probably be a beast regardless. But I do think right back for the foreseeable future is going to be his like standalone position.
He's already a Liverpool legend. There's no question. And I think Curtis Jones, when his time has come, he's going to be looked at as more of like the Gerrard successor. I know Cato's wearing his number and everything, but Curtis Jones is more of that midfield role. I mean, he can play on the wing too. But yeah, man, Trent is going to be the best right back in the world if he isn't already. So
He is.
I think that's an excellent
Yeah.
stopping point. You know what I mean? We talked about some good topics today. And remember, subscribe to the channel, everyone, if you enjoyed the video today. And then any closing thoughts, boys? I appreciate you both coming on. You guys good?
Yeah, man. Yeah, Kyle, thanks for having us on, man. Appreciate it. I hope we do a lot more of these. Love talking Liverpool and love having the opportunity to be here. Up the Reds, man.
Absolutely. Steve.
Yeah, I'm always happy to join. Always have some good laughs. I think we're seeing some light at the end of the COVID-19 tunnel in terms of football. So hopefully we'll be talking about games here soon. So happy to jump back on whenever and contribute any way I can. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.